because I brought my own notes from Emotional Healing Intensive, my goals and objectives. So, I'm going to start at the top of the mountain, and then we'll come back down, and we'll talk about how to get there. We'll do a nice little trailer at the top. It says, North Star Gotha. That's what I wrote. Before I begin, can anybody not relate to what Beth shared? I think it's a pretty universal experience. So my North Star Gotha. Do anything without any indecision or hesitation, without expectations or doubts. All actions are completely free. Behavior becomes like a peacock's, taking all negative obstacles and appearances as blessings. When unhappy, abide completely in unhappiness. When hungry, abide completely in hunger. When afraid, abide completely in fear. When you don't like something, abide completely in the state of not liking. When phenomena is an obstacle, be careful. When phenomena becomes your friend, liberate yourself. Then everything becomes a benefit to your practice. So I'll read that one more time. Do anything without indecision or hesitation. Without expectations or doubts, all actions are completely free. Behavior becomes like a peacock's, taking all negative obstacles and appearances as blessings. When unhappy, abide completely in unhappiness. When hungry, abide completely in hunger. When afraid, abide completely in fear. When you don't like something, abide completely in the state of not liking. When phenomena is an obstacle, be careful. When phenomena becomes your friend, liberate yourself. Then everything becomes a benefit to your practice. So in my practice of emotional healing, that's my North Star. That's where I'm going. Leave things exactly where they are. Often we talk about letting go. But often we talk about letting go from a position of aversion or pushing away. Anxiety arises. I just need to let it go. But we talk about letting go like we're going to throw it out. Like we don't want it. What this is saying, it's a different way to let go. Leave it be. Don't push it away. Don't even label it bad. When you don't like something, abide completely in that state of not liking. So, what I do on the cushion is whatever arises, all the unwholesome emotionality, anxiety arises in me. I let it come up, but I don't actually name it. Because I've recognized it enough, I don't need to name it. It's not new, right? It's a familiar, I don't have to name honey every time I taste honey, right? Or when there's cilantro in something, I don't have to, oh, that's cilantro. I've eaten cilantro enough that I can just recognize it, recognize the taste. And so through practices like rain, recognizing and allowing it to come up. just as it is. I don't label it unpleasant. I don't try to let it go. I don't try to change it out for something wholesome. When I'm sitting on the cushion and I'm crabby and irritated, I just let that whole thing come up. The reason being, why would I do that? Because I want to get to know myself. And I want to get to know what this is that's arising. This small Chris, right? This kind of ego, selfish, irritated. I want to get to know it as well as I want to get to know my son. Unconditionally. Without judging. So I let it come up and I just watch it. Become aware. This is what that experience is like. Recognizing where is this experience? In my mind, in my body, maybe both. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to peel away the layers of the story. Peel away the layer underneath that of the label. And peel away the layer under that of that sensation of feeling tone of pleasant, neutral, or unpleasant. And get down to what is it at its essence. I want to know it, its core, its nature. What is this? That drives me crazy because I label it unpleasant and then I call it anxiety and then I build a story around it because I need to pick out a couch, right? Because we got to, get this couch while the delivery company's here and because of the hurricane, and there's a whole list of stories. I want to get down to that core essence. And so I'm not going back and looking at my inner child necessarily, like in the past. I really don't care about the past at this point. It's arising right now. So I'm looking at what is this that's arising now? What is its nature? What is its essence? What's really going on? And so that's how I deal with all of the emotions. And so I have a lot of technique practices I'll share here. I learned a lot. I rode some roller coasters either last weekend or 2 weekends ago. And I was in line, and I was having experiences, and I was really feeling that. And I have this experience, and if I label it pleasant, then I call it excitement. But if I label it unpleasant, and I don't want it, I call it anxiety. But the raw experience of excitement and anxiety are the exact same thing. And you can sit on the cushion and bring up something that excites you. And then by just leaving it alone and holding it in mindfulness and just directly tasting that experience in the body and how it arises in the mind. It's like tasting honey. And then you know it. And then I can do the same and bring up anxiety and do the exact same. I say, I know that taste. The only difference is when it happens on a roller coaster, I label it pleasant and I want this. And so all of a sudden there's excitement. And last week at Sam's Club, somebody was yelling at me and calling me names and making a scene. Same energy of it, but I didn't want it because I was shopping. I was going to buy diapers. And so I labeled it as unpleasant. And it was a bad feeling, and it arose as anxiety. And I remember being in Sam's Club and feeling it coming back into my body. I could feel it right in here, almost like an indigestion, kind of burned. It was tight and a lot of movements. And I just came back underneath the story. Because the story was, I'm right, this guy's wrong. This guy shouldn't be shouting at me. He's an employee. He shouldn't be calling me names. I got to follow the whole narrative, right? And that's at the level of small ego Chris. He's right, and that guy's wrong, and he's got to make sure that guy knows it. And then below that, though, I'm just having, an unpleasant experience because I'm perceiving somebody as shouting at me and angry, and it's not making me feel good, and so I'm having an emotional response. I'm having a negative, Vedna experience to that. But what's going on underneath that? What's going on really at the core? And so after that experience, it didn't last too long. I just really kind of came home to my body as V was doing the remaining shopping, and just really, what is this feeling? Is it familiar? Do I know this? And then later on the cushion, I can bring up that story and kind of dive down through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
So we will drop back. So that's kind of high end. If you can't naturally do that in the world or on the cushion, perfectly fine. We might have to develop some competencies. We might have to train ourselves. Because if we bring up a story on the cushion and we're used to only engaging that story with more stories, then that's all we're going to do. And then we're just going to spend 30 minutes telling ourselves how I was right and that guy's wrong and he should be fired and he shouldn't have done that. Here's what he should have done. Here's what I would have done. Right? And he should have known better, and I can't believe that, and I'm just talking to myself and creating a pain speech body, just regurgitating in my mind a story. So, my emotional healing intensive goals and objectives start with setting my intention. And again, I think we all know this, but it's the ground in which I start. What are my heartfelt aspirations and intentions in this life? How do I want to be in this present moment, in this flow of life? How do I want to be in relationship to myself and to others? It's usually where I start. And I try to come back and check in with that throughout the day as much as I can. And I'll tell you, when that guy was shouting at me, I was not thinking about my intention and aspiration. I was thinking about his intention and his aspiration and how it should be better. So making sure that I keep grounding myself again and again with my aspirations and my intentions. Right? Because I want to live my life a certain way. I want to be a certain quality of person. I want to be a bodhisattva. I want to live an awakened, loving, compassionate, caring life. And so if I don't have that, if I don't know that, if I don't start with a base of that, then I'm just going to be carried away. And I'm just going to be, if I wander into someone's territory and they yell at me, and I'll yell back just like two dogs when you walk a dog, and one starts barking and the other starts barking, and it'll be no different than that. The next practice I do here is just mindfulness practice, what we all know. When we practice mindfulness, we reestablish our connection to ourselves. We engage in a relationship lovingly and unconditionally. We practice non-judgmental loving awareness, allowing whatever comes up to come up, letting it be as it is. This is creating an unconditional, loving, internal relationship with ourselves. And in turn, this allows us to be unconditionally loving to others. This in turn keeps me out of that distressed mind, undoing those conditioned patterns and the self-grasping autopilot that keeps me so constricted, tight, busy, and stressed. So this is really no different than what we do. It's basic mindfulness. But I'm reframing it here as non-judgmental loving awareness. The same non-judgmental loving awareness I hold to Bodhi, my son. When he's stressed, I don't start looking at his score schemas. I don't start trying to change the peg. I allow whatever comes up to come up. When he's sad, he's sad. When he bangs his head on something, he bangs his head on something. And I'm just there for him. Non-judgmental, loving awareness. So I have a few questions for reflection that I ask myself. And we can take a moment and I'll ask these just kind of in a reflective way. We can all think about them. So what are the qualities of awareness I want to bring to this moment? What are the qualities of awareness I am bringing to this moment? How am I holding this loving space for others? How am I holding this loving space for that constricted, stressed, busy part of myself? Am I practicing being just here, watching where my mind is going? And am I bringing non-judgmental loving awareness to this very moment? We're coming to the end of the evening. I'll leave us with one more thing before we end. And just to kind of go back to your point about what's appropriate. When I talk about tending lovingly to my son, sometimes you use words because that's what's needed. Sometimes explanation is the best thing that they can offer, But other times, you don't need words. You can just hold, hug, And so part of, being a good bodhisattva is having that discernment. Part of being a good parent to our children and to ourselves is knowing, is this a time to explain? Is this a time to use words? Or is this a time where you can just smile and hug and hold? And so this next little section here, which I'll just read, says unconditional, non-judgmental, loving relationships. And I ask the question, what are the good ingredients to create unconditional, loving relationships with myself as well as others? And I have 4 here. The first one is security, a felt sense of safety. Everything is going to be okay. The second is attention, feeling seen, giving someone genuine attention, showing up and being present to them. Everyone wants to feel seen. Third is true presence, feeling known more deeply. I see you suffering, and I'm here for you. Thich Nhat Hanh's 6 mantras of true presence are a great example. And finally, agency, feeling valued and capable, responding to the other person and allowing them to receive what they need, encouraging them to experience the full expression of what is arising, encouraging them to be their best self without trying to fix it or manipulate the situation. And so in my life, these are part of my aspirations. These are how I try to develop loving, unconditional relationships. But this is also the same stuff I do with myself. That inner child, that part of us that's scared, that's stressed, that feels tight and constricted. Everything's going to be okay. I use words. Attention, feeling seen, acknowledging that it's actually arising within me. It's actually there. That true presence of I see you suffering. I see me suffering, and I'm here for you. And encouraging that inner part of you to be their best self. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to manipulate. You don't have to change the situation. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to be right. You don't have to know what to do. It's okay to be confused. And just allowing that part of us to receive what they need. So I'll stop there.